Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Get Geeked Podcast. It is episode, 48. Episode 48. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Not yet. Okay. Yes. And I opened up the show with that was an old song from Static. I want to say is it Static Causes Brain Damage? I'm not sure if that's the name of the song or not, but that was Impurities, an old band I was friends with. Most of the band members have split up and they formed a new band called Lions Amongst Wolves, which they do have new music out right now on Spotify and iTunes, and I'm not sure if they're on SoundCloud or not, but check anyways, maybe. But yeah, their new stuff is pretty good too. It sounds a little bit like From Autumn to Ashes a little bit, or at least one of the songs that I heard. I don't know about the rest of the album. I haven't really checked out the rest of the album, but one of the songs, which was including a female singer. I'm not sure. I don't recall her name because I didn't really read into it. But I know they featured a female singer on that song, and the song itself sounds like, it reminds me of old From Autumn to Ashes. So if you want to check out some new stuff, support your local bands and stuff like that, check them out. Lions Amongst Wolves on Spotify, on iTunes. Go tell them that I sent you. That's if anyone's even listening. So, yes. And I want to say, or let me just start with, we're going to get into what we're going to get into today is basically what everyone's probably are watching or have watched or has already seen. And it's basically the big craze, and I'm just going to give my own opinion on it. And if you don't know what we're talking about, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're talking Tiger King today. Tiger King. He won it on Netflix, so if you haven't seen it already, go to Netflix, check it out. It's called Tiger King. It's a documentary. It's a 7-episode series. So it's not too long of a watch. I mean, each episode is about an hour long. So, block off 7 hours. Sorry. But I know everyone's basically most of everybody's in quarantine. If you're not essential, you are quarantined. So I'm pretty sure everyone has 7 hours to spare. And with that said, if you want something interesting to watch, something kind of, it's crazy. It's pretty crazy. But the thing is I feel like there's more to it than what people are putting on it, because there's an underlying message that people are just straight up missing. They're just watching it kind of and just going, "Oh, look at this eccentric, crazy dude that likes tigers," and the story of what he went through and where he is now. And I don't know. Well, I'm gonna semi-spoil it. So if you don't want any spoilers, I would say, yeah, you go ahead and skip this episode. But I'm not going to totally spoil it. But let's just say it doesn't end well for Homeboy. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to get into what I think the underlying message is. I'm going to get into what I think about the show. I'm probably going to rate it. And then my thoughts on the reactions of everybody that's seen it and stuff like that. Because it boggles my mind, and it makes me wow, a lot of people just look at it for the front view of what it is, and people, and even when the message is bad, the message is don't do this, don't own tigers, you're not supposed to own tigers and stuff like that, and people are selling tigers and stuff, which is which that is the front message of the whole thing, kind of. Or it's not even the front message. It's basically what it's saying. People are still oh, I want a tiger. I want to own a tiger. I want to own a lion. I want a big cat. Oh, I would love to have a big cat. Yo, big cats kill, bro. They will kill and eat you. big cats are not meant to be kept in captivity. They're not to be owned. They are big, vicious predators that are meant to be living in the wild and, keeping populations of caribou and deers. And I don't know about deers, to tell you the truth, but like, is there deers where lions are and tigers? I'm pretty sure there's some type of deers, but like, they're supposed to keep those type of animals populations in check, because in the wild, in nature, in the jungle, that's the chain, that's the food chain, basically. You have the animals that eat all the herbs and stuff like that, and all the grass and stuff like that, and they populate really quickly. And then you have the lions and stuff that kind of keeps that in check, and they're predators. They prey on these animals and then they kill and eat them. They're not supposed to be meant to be kept in cages as pets, even though they kind of turn that way, because there are little cats which are kind of like they're related in species, but they're wild animals. They're meant to be out there in the wild like that. You take them out of their out of their own place. If you take them out of place of where they're supposed to be and then stick them in a home, it just doesn't end well. It's never gonna end well. Someone's gonna get eaten. Someone's gonna get their limbs tore off, and which happens in this documentary. You know what I'm saying? One of the girls that worked at the zoo that the document was about got her arm ripped off, which is pretty. I mean, I gotta give it up to her. When you watch the footage, she doesn't even squirm. She's not even freaking out. She is just like straight up like chill as hell, maybe too chill as hell. And like she's missing an arm. And then the crazy thing is she only stays in the hospital for 7 days and then goes back to work with these big cats with just one arm, with a missing arm. I mean, yo, big ups to her. Like, she has all the, she gets it all, basically. Yo, I'll give it to her, man. I'm not even gonna talk trash on that, because I mean that's ridiculous. I like if like the most I hurt my ankle and I'd still go to work, but like, yo, that's an ankle. It's not like I'm missing a foot or anything. I didn't lose a foot, but if I lost an arm, I'm totally not gonna go back to work in 7 days. That's just craziness. I don't know, especially with big cats or big animals. It's just wild. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I'm gonna take these earphones off because I only had it on just to check the levels of the song, of the music, but it's kind of getting on my nerves. I don't really need the headphones anymore, so we're just gonna go rocking on like this. But yeah, interesting watch. Tiger King. I'm gonna start off with just my thoughts on the whole show itself. It's entertaining. It does keep you like interested and wanting to know what happens on each and next episode. There's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of characters playing, like a lot of like intricate parts that kind of go together, and a bunch of puzzle pieces basically. And as a whole, as a show, it's interesting. And I'm kind of also it gets you a lot interested because like there's a lot of drama and betrayal. It's almost kind of like a Greek tragedy in a ways, but in a redneck, neighborhood. I mean, you could kind of say that because that's what it was. Like they're basically in the backwoods, and they're all raising these big cats, and there's like a lot of basically trafficking of these wild animals, and so even the even the so-called good guy of the story still to me seems a little evil, because there was mystery and crazy stuff going on in that area too. So you have the Tiger King, which is Joe Exotic, right? Sorry. So you have Joe Exotic, which is the Tiger King, and he owns a big zoo, almost a petting zoo in a ways, because that's basically what it turns out to. And I feel like because the way they told the story, how it began was that it was supposed to be kind of like a rescue area, like a place to keep rescued animals and stuff like that, but then changed and turned into a petting zoo, and then basically turned into a breeding area to sell and traffic exotic big cats and even exotic animals, period, because they had more than just big cats. They had monkeys and birds and stuff like that, and alligators and crocodiles. It's crazy. But and then and so he's doing his thing, but of course, if you're gonna be doing stuff like that, you're gonna have PETA and people who are against the breeding and selling and abuse of these animals. You're gonna have those people coming for you. So one of the main other main characters in this documentary that was kind of going for him, or in a sense, she wasn't really going after him. I mean, she did, but like not as tough as it seemed like the documentary made that Joe was going after her. And I want to say her name was Carol, right? Carol something, I forget. But she was, and the crazy thing is, she started off kind of how he was portrayed now in the documentary. Like, she started off as, showing you, she did a video where it showed how to breed them and how to raise wild animals and how to, buy these big cats and raise them and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden she switched in the middle and became kind of this savior of big cats and wild animals and stuff. And I don't know, somehow she turned to be, partnered up with PETA, and it's crazy. It's just like a bunch of twists and turns and roads for all these people. But she somehow became almost the protagonist, and made Joe Exotic the antagonist. And whereas in the ways in the documentary, Joe is supposed to be the protagonist, but I'm just saying, just watch it and you'll figure it out yourself. But yeah, it's just crazy and wow how the show, it just twists and turns and does all these things. But interesting watch. And then there's and that is the downfall of it all. And I feel like that's one of the other messages that you should take from the show itself, is that vengeance and greed and that feeling of wanting to take someone down is bad. Like, let it go, because the more you go for somebody after revenge and stuff, the more revenge you want and the more that you drive yourself towards that revenge, it's just never ever going to end good. Because I feel like that's kind of the downfall of Joe to begin with, is that he put it in his mind that he's going to take this lady out, and that he wanted her gone, and it drove him to being sued and losing all his money, and then having to partner up with this other dude. I want to say his name was Jeff. God, I'm forgetting all the names, because there is too many players. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of people. Like, the crazy thing is that Joe himself is he's a gay man, and he goes after these straight boys, and there's the two straight boys that he ends up actually marrying, and all because of big cats, all because of these tigers. Like, they just went there to check out these big cats. They just went there to pet some baby tigers or baby lions, and then he somehow ends up like marrying them. I'm just like, yo, what is going on here? Like, what is life? And that's the other part too. It shows you how crazy people are. There's like, people out there are just crazy and just wild. Like, it's so that's what made me. That's why I'm always kind of like weary and fearful, like, or not really afraid, but just like, I kind of like keep a distance from people, because it's like that's how it is. That's how life is. Like, you don't know the intentions of certain people. And then of course there's drugs behind it and everything like that. Like, you know, one of his husbands, like, he basically kept him around, which is like kept on feeding him drugs. Like, you know, like the dude was weed addicted or something. But I'm pretty sure it was more than just weed, because I don't know anyone who, you know, turns their sexuality and then stays and, you know, just stays there just for weed. It had to have been more than just weed. Come on. Like, it's not just weed. You know, you're talking meth or crack or something. Like, there was way more on it than what we saw. And then so there was that, and then this Jeff dude comes in, and like, he's a con man, and he basically cons everyone thinking that he's rich, but he's not rich, but he plays the rich part, and it was just like wild, and he takes over everything, and then ends up backstabbing Joe, because like he basically turns a rat to the feds, and gives up Joe with all these like fake, like almost fake evidence, but then Joe himself kind of like commits himself, because, or not commits, but like, you know, makes it look bad on himself because of all the stuff he's done in the past and stuff like that. They had like video evidence on him. They found dead cats with bullet holes in their skulls buried on the grounds of his zoo, and basically just like, man, he basically just buried himself basically and gave evidence to the feds. But all because he partnered up with this guy Jeff, but all stemming from his feud against the girl Carol. Like, see how that goes? Like, you know, vengeance and greed takes you nowhere. And they keep on bringing up the word karma in the show too, which is kind of true, even though they kind of use the definition of karma in the wrong way. But it shows, yeah, that's, you know, karma. It happens, but that's what happens. So if you're going for vengeance and all ran under greed and, you know, all this fakeness and stuff like that, it's just all bad stuff is just gonna happen. So it's wild. And the other part too is that girl Carol is not a saint herself, supposedly, and no one knows yet because it's not proven, and there's no proof to what happened, but everyone believes that she killed her husband. And I'm thinking like, yo, that's gotta be what happened, because like even though there's no evidence, like what else could have happened? You know, there's no clue or proof of him just disappearing, and no one just disappears, especially if they're gonna lose all their money. They would take all their money if they disappeared, you know, or some of the money. You'd see some of the money disappearing, but that wasn't the case. He left all the money and just vanish. Like, who does that? Like, so the way the documentary put it, I do believe that she killed her husband. We don't know what happened to his body. A lot of people say that she fed it to her tigers and lions or something, but who knows? It's a wild, crazy story. And all for big cats. All for these wild beast creatures. I don't get it. That's the part that I don't get. Like, all this crazy stuff happens and revolves around cats. These big cats. These tigers. These lions. Like, what's the deal? You know? Just go buy yourself a cat. I mean, I don't get the intrigue of it all. If I see a lion, I know that that's a predator. I'm staying away from it. If I see a tiger, I know it's a big creature. That's a predator. I'm staying away from it. But all these people were just like, yo, I want a big cat. I want to pet a big cat. You know, like, I'll change my life for a big cat. I'll become gay and marry a man for a big cat. Like, yo, what's the deal? What is that all about? And that was just like running through my head the whole time I'm watching this. Like, yo, what? Everyone's doing this. Okay, and there's this interesting character in this documentary. His name is Dr. Bhagavan, or Bhagavan. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I think it's Bhagavan. Which very eccentric too, and Bhagavan's not even his real name. Bhagavan supposedly means Lord or something like that. And that dude is basically a cult leader. Like, I think he knows it. They don't really say it. They kind of say it, but dude is a cult leader. He has like 7 wives, maybe even more. We don't know. But he takes these young girls in. Like he has this like fake facade of like a hippie culture type deal, but basically it's a cult. So he lures these young girls in and basically like trains them to be his concubines under the lure of being animal trainers and zookeepers and stuff like that. You know, he chooses what they wear. He has sex with them. He has kids with them, and then he just puts them to work, and they work 24 hours. Like, you know, like they're basically 24 hours. You know, like you're taking care of his animals. You're taking care of his land. Like, and he's trained them so well that they stay. Except for one, I think one of them got away. And, you know, she was telling her story, but they don't go deep into it, which is another thing, like, you know, because, like, that's what makes it so interesting that they put these, like, weird side stories into it, and you're like, what, yo, what's that? Like, to tell you the truth, I think the only normal person in the whole documentary is this drug dealer, and he seems like the most normalist, even though he, you know, and he admits that he kind of grew this love, and he kind of tells the story why he grew his love for, like, you know, these animals and stuff like that. And he owns, like, you know, big cats and wild animals too, like these exotic animals as well. But he's one dude. He has one wife. He has kids, and he owns his land. And he, you know, he bought his wild animals. He owns wild animals, right? You know, the only thing is that he used to deal drugs in the past and got caught supposedly being part of a murder of an FBI agent. But, you know, he didn't kill the FBI agent. But he got put in jail for the whole drug deal and FBI death situation and everything like that. But he's the only one that seems normal out of the whole documentary, because he's not trying to build a cult. You know, he's not marrying a bunch of people. He's not holding, I don't know. It's crazy. But he's not like backstabbing or whatever other people, which everyone else is kind of in on and part of, or doing something like that. You know, besides the workers, of course, in the zoo and stuff like that, a lot of them are just a bunch of people trying to live a normal life, and they thought they were going to get a normal life. They thought they were going to get a normal life by being part of this whole zoo. Turns out they became part of this wild, wild story of the Tiger King. And that's the other thing too, like what like they touch on it, and what I think a lot of people are missing is that there's a whole grid of people who are like just trafficking animals, and they're like using these animals to start like cults and stuff, and they have a map of it all. They know where it all goes. They know where these places are. Like the FBI have this, the FBI has this map, and they show kind of the map itself on the documentary. But yeah, there's like this whole backlot of like weird people who like exotic animals, and who are like, you know, using it to bring people in and, you know, help, not hold them captives, because they trick these people's minds to think they're part of something, a part of like this world of exotic animals. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah. And I feel like they barely touch on it, but it's there. You see it, and then you're just like, you're not gonna go into that? That sounds kind of interesting in a way. It's like, but yeah, and because these people who buy exotic animals aren't normal. Like from what the documentary shows, it shows, you know, most of them aren't normal. You have Dr. Bagvon holding this weird cult community over here. You have Joe Exotic over here, like doing his thing, and you have the Carol trying to save animals with her own little zoo, you know, like, or they call, I don't know what they call it. They call it like a sanctuary for these animals, but like they're still keeping them in cages. Like it's not like a big place for these animals to roam. I mean, it's somewhat big, but it's still not big enough, you know. And they're all in cages still, and eating out of cages and stuff like that. So it's almost all the same. It's just that she's not allowing people to come pet them and stuff, and she's not breeding them to sell them and stuff like that. But you know, It's almost the same. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. Well, in the little ways I do, I feel like it's just like a weird, crazy story. But then again, I'm like kind of bewildered because there's people like this that exist, and like how do they, how did they go this long existing and getting away with it? Because like both Joe and Bhagavan dude were on TV on these late night shows, and everyone's like cool about it, and they like they trick people, into thinking they're good people because they they have these animals. They bring these small animals, and even that Bhagavan dude, he's accused of euthanizing these young pup tigers and lions, but it's not proven yet. But I believe on the documentary it says that he was being investigated on it, and that that he was his whole complex was raided by police and stuff. So he's like being investigated now. And Joe himself, well, watch the whole thing. Watch the documentary if you want to know what happens, right? But it's crazy. And it's crazy what these animals do to people. Like, it makes them dumb almost. And it turns certain people to think like they're kings, and to turn them into thinking that they're cult leaders, and to give them like this. It's almost like because you own an animal that's supposed to be a predator, like apex predator, of an area, because you own them and kind of like you tower over them now because you own them. It makes it feel like they're more powerful than anything. And it's kind of like what I got out of the whole documentary. But it's kind of crazy though. Like it makes them crazy with this power, and then they act unnormal. And sometimes it gets them into trouble, and then you have these like rats that come out of nowhere to betray you. Like they get into your life and betray you and stuff like that. Such a crazy documentary. I mean, I don't know if all of you out there are into documentaries or not, or and stuff like that. But if you are, and you want to watch a documentary that's about this eccentric, weird, crazy person and the people that surrounded him, and then the people that was part of his whole crazy whirlwind life, then watch this documentary, The Tiger King, on Netflix. I mean, it was entertaining. At the best, it was entertaining. I'm not so like hyped on it like a lot of other people that I've seen review it or talk about it, just because like I felt like, I don't know. To me, it was just more of like a watch it because, like, you know how like you kind of like to watch a train wreck or like a car crash. People like to watch a car crash or a train wreck. It was kind of like that for me. Like the story was just so crazy and was so train wrecky, so car crashy that I just couldn't stop watching it. I kind of binged it in 2 days. I watched four episodes in one day and then 3 episodes the next to finish it. So it was a good watch. My rating for it now, I have to give this show, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. But that's my opinion. I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there will rate it higher than that. But it had enough to hold my interest. It had enough twists and turns to keep my interest into the show. It was so drama filled and everything like that. So like it had all of that. It had the story. It was really well built and put together and stuff like, and as a documentary whole, it was pretty well put together and a really good storyline that keeps you kind of held all the way through. Just the whole thing, because I don't get it, because I'm not part of the culture of like animals being a big thing. I'm so much of a loner. Like I don't need animals and stuff like that. That I just don't get it. Like how are these people so get caught up in these big animal things, like these wild animals? Because I was more intrigued on the people. Of like I was like trying to figure it out, like what gets them there, what keeps them there. And you kind of figure out, like, for most of them, I felt like a lot of it was just drugs and stuff like that. So, who knows? But that's my opinion on the show. 7.5 out of 10. It's a good watch. It'll keep you interested. And if you kind of relate to the people and you are into, like, big cats and animals and stuff like that, I believe you'll like it more than I do. But yeah, the Tiger King. I felt like I kind of needed to talk about it because it was like the talk of the town. If you open up social media, you'll see everybody posting about the Tiger King, or that they're watching the Tiger King, or that they couldn't believe what they just watched, and then how crazy it is. And then, or people posting about, oh, now they want a big cat and stuff like that, or now they want an exotic animal. To me, it's just all wild. It's just all crazy. No pun intended. Because these animals belong in the wild. Put them back in the wild. Send them back to where they're from. Even though, no, tell you the truth, you shouldn't, because they're so tame. If you put them back into the wild, they will get destroyed by the ones that have already been in the wild. Because a lot of them are territorial, you know. So if you put one that's been kind of captive and kept tame, and you take him and you put him back in the wilds, the one that have already been in the wild are the apex predators now, and they will most likely kill whatever new that comes in. And so, yeah, I tell you the truth, I don't even know what to do with them. And the crazy part with the statistics at the end of the movie or the show is that there's more of these wild big cats being captive or held captive than there are in the wild existing, which is crazy. I just don't get it. You know, I don't get the whole thing of like, oh, because you're rich, you should own like these crazy exotic animals, you know. And the crazy part is too, there's a lot of people out there that like people look up to, like Shaq and stuff. Shaq owns tigers and lions. Like, why do you need to own a tiger and lion, bro? You're rich, man. Why do you need a tiger or a lion? You don't need it. Because by the time they get full grown, they're going to eat one of your kids, if not eat you. Like, dude, you're big. Dude, you got a lot of meat on your bones. The tiger's going to want to eat you. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. These people are nutty. I just don't get it. But, yeah, that's mostly all of, like, what I kind of wanted to talk about. I really didn't have much going on because of this whole quarantine thing. I've just been going to work and coming home and then playing video games. So let me get into that a little bit. I've been wanting to record a solo Call of Duty Warzone gameplay, but just haven't had the chance. But I'm going to try to do one this week. I'm going to try to get one out this week, if not soon. But that's one of my plans that I want to get into. So look forward to that, and maybe I'll try to get it out this week. If not this week, I'm for sure going to be doing it next week, or I'm going to try to get it out this week, but you know, most likely if not this week, then next week. Because I've been having a lot of fun on that game. I feel like I haven't won a solo yet, but I feel like I'm getting close because I'm getting to the final circle, and I think I know what I've kind of figured out, the weapons and my movements and stuff like that, and how to get a victory in a solo. So I feel like I'm getting close, and I believe like if I just keep on recording and playing, then sooner or later I'm gonna get a victory, and I'll, you know, put it out there. I've already gotten some victories on in the trio squads. Just haven't recorded it yet, so after I do the solo, I'll probably do the squads one. The only thing is I have to figure out how to get audio from everybody, which I don't know if my equipment's capable of that yet, but I'm gonna try to figure it out. And then there's the whole Pokemon Go Battle League videos that I've been doing, the series that I've been doing. I should have another video out soon. They switched it to Ultra League without me knowing. I totally didn't read the dates on it, so totally didn't know when they were going to switch it to Ultra League, and they switched it to Ultra League when I was doing so good in Great League, and I was getting close to 200 wins, and I was going to do a video where I reached the 200 wins, but it looks like that's on pause until Great League comes back. So right now we're on Ultra League. I was going to record it before this podcast, but turns out they are doing maintenance to it, so I couldn't get into the Battle League to make the video. So, but I'm gonna look forward to that. I'm gonna try to do that. So I have a lot of videos planned for today, or not today, but this week. And I think that's probably why I'm gonna keep this podcast a little short, with just the review on Tiger King that we just went through, and then because I kind of want to get into recording all this other stuff, and that's the thing. I plan so much and put it on my plate, and then because I'm thinking like, yo, well, we're on quarantine, I should have enough time to do this, but then you find out like the time goes by quick, and if you're not going and doing and editing and putting it together, it's just like you run out of time in one day. So that's basically it. I know that there's specs and stuff out for the new PlayStation 5. I might, on the next podcast, talk about that. Compare that with the new Xbox, because I know the new Xbox is also coming out pretty soon. But tell you the truth, with all of this happening in the world, you're gonna see you're gonna see a halt on that. Like, the releases of these new consoles are gonna take a while to come out, because there's nobody working on them. Everyone's on quarantine. The whole world's on quarantine. Well, I know China's kind of back to working, so maybe if they did, but then there you have the whole like trade situation with the U.S. and China. So I don't know if stuff is going to be built in China or not, because of the whole trade thing. But so I feel like these consoles, even though they release the specs and they release the video on it and everything like that, I don't think they're going to come out on the release date. I believe there's going to be a delay on it. So we have time to talk about like the specs and stuff, but as like a release and look at them and everything like that, like that's gonna be not until like later in the future. I'm gonna do more shows reviews because we have time. I also want to do a lot more movie reviews. I want to catch up on that. I think the next movie I'm gonna be watching is gonna probably be Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, because I know that's on digital already. So I'm probably going to try to watch that and maybe give you a review. So on the next podcast, look forward to like a review on the specs on the PlayStation 5 and maybe a movie review on Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Gosh, weird. I can't speak right now. But yeah. With that said, I mean, this feels like a good stopping point. 40 minutes of talking, kind of help you guys throughout this through this quarantine. Give it a little entertainment, give you a little bit of my reviews, and just something to do while we're all stuck at home. If you have anything to say about the movie or anything at all, if you want to put it in the comments, please, I would love to see your comments. I also, before I end this all, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to Claudia. I know she's brought us up to 53 subscribers. She's an old school homegirl of mine from the metal hardcore days. She's always been at every show. One of the girls that I always see in the pit, fearless. But I saw that I'm guessing it might be because of the quarantine thing, but she saw one of my old photos on Instagram, commented, and then subscribed to the channel, which is cool. I want to say thank you, Claudia, for that. You're the best. Because we've been stuck at 52 subscribers for a while now, but with her subscribing brings up to 53. But hey, if you guys are new around here and you're just watching this for the first time, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified when I put out new stuff, new content. And with that, this is a good place to end it. So, once again, like I said, if you're new, like, subscribe, and with that said, I love you all, and we'll see you guys all on the next episode. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you liked the video you guys just watched. And if you did, please do not hesitate to hit that like button and that subscribe button. And then tell a friend. And if you guys want to see more videos, check them out below. I should have 2 other videos to check out. We have other stuff to see on this channel. And with that said, we thank you guys all for watching. And we'll check you guys out laters.